Guy Jeff Passan of ESPN. He's back for another year of every single Tuesday joining us at 8:30. Good morning, Jeffrey. How are you? Happy baseball season to you.
Happy baseball season to you guys, too.
It's already over here. It's sad. It's over. It's already done. They're 2-3. The people have jumped off the bandwagon. It's already over, buddy. Let's start talking about the offseason 2026.
Mike Salk. The wet blanket, raining on parades, harsh and buzzes all day.
Yeah, I'm not doing that, obviously. I think I know better than to panic or read too much into 5 games. But when your lineup and roster are almost identical to how it was last year, can you read a little more into 5 games than you might otherwise?
No, just because guys progress year over year and guys change, and you're going to have ones who are better and you're going to have ones who regress. And it's too early to know at this point what that is. I mean, we can take away little clues and little signals and, maybe it's just noise or maybe there's something there. But you guys know me, like Memorial Day is my line of demarcation typically as to what a team both is and can be. Numbers have stabilized at that point, and we have a sense of what we're dealing with and what progress is actually real and what might actually be a mirage of the first couple of weeks. So, you want to get off to a good start. You want to be the Yankees going 3-0 and outscoring the Brewers 36-14 over the first 3 games. But the Yankees doing that, that doesn't tell me that they're going to win the American League East and dominate through the playoffs this year. It just shows that, hey, the ceiling of this team is pretty good. And we know that they can go on these jags where they're scoring 20 runs and, hitting 5, 6, 9 home runs a game.
Over these years, Jeffrey, thank you for being back yet again with us. And over these years, I think one thing that Salk and I have certainly appreciated, our audience has about you as well, is you dig into these numbers. You don't just kind of show up and turn the microphone on. You look at what the Mariners are doing. You look at kind of the next level and advanced stats and things that, stand out to Jeff Passan after all of these years. So when you're just a week into the season, did you even take a look at the stats of the Mariners for the first 5 games, or like truly you don't even pay any attention to it?
Oh, no, I definitely look at the numbers just to see if there are any trends worth following. And the one number to the Mariners stood out. The one number for the Mariners that stood out to me is 50. And that's 50 strikeouts and 149 at-bats. If this team is going to win, it just cannot strike out as much as it does. Like, that's a really simple thing. But I fear that because of the construction of this team, that's going to be hard. Like guys tend not to cut their strikeout rates demonstrably year over year. That tends to be something that stays pretty static. And when you look at the best teams in baseball, they at least right now in the early going, they tend not to strike out very much. And let's look at strikeout leaders. The Washington Nationals, 32% of plate appearances. The Colorado Rockies, 31. The Red Sox, I believe, are 1-4 this year. They're at 29. The Braves are 0-5. They're at 29, and in 5th is the Seattle Mariners at 28.4% of plate appearances. That is not a number that is sustainable if you want to be a winning team.
You say it, Jeff, and again, we've argued about strikeouts since forever, but fine. What's interesting is when they've hit home runs, they've won, because home runs and walks have a tendency to mitigate some of those strikeout problems. But more interestingly to me is a lot of that was supposed to go away because of the approach. And we heard a lot about how Edgar Martinez was, able to get these guys with a different approach to not strike out so much. What's happening?
Baseball's hard. Like you can take the approach that you want and you can prioritize strikeouts, but if you have swing and miss in your game, you're not going to wish cast it away. You're not going to say, hey, today I think I'm not going to strike out. It changes everything about your game when you start prioritizing things that you are not physically capable of doing. And, with a guy like Cal Raleigh, it's an okay trade-off because the power is there. It's just you can't have guys who don't have slug and do have high strikeouts.
But Jeff, Jeff, you and I were. I mean, here's why I'm going to sort of be difficult about this.
Be careful today, Jeff.
I know I'm on a heater today.
He is on an elite smart heater.
You and I were arguing over text throughout the offseason about this a little bit and what needed to be done. And in my view, they needed to make some changes to the roster because betting on a hitting coach changing your hitting problems didn't make a lot of sense to me. And here we are, 5 games in, and I'm not going to look at just 5 games, but go figure. Having a different hitting coach is not changing the results markedly, and you agree with that. Why didn't they do different things in the offseason?
We're at that very weird juncture of this program where you're starting to get whiny when I agree with you. No, you're
It only took 6 minutes, Jeff.
Mike, you know the way your voice gets when you get on one. There's an extra octave in there that I didn't think you were going to start reaching. But you get all indignant, and you say, dude, I agree with you. You are correct. You're right. When they say we're going to rely on our hitting coach, you know what that is? That's them not saying we wouldn't need to rely so much on our hitting coach if our owner had gone out and given us the money that he should have to go and get hitters in free agency who better represent what we're looking for.
I mean, you say the owner, but also I watched the Detroit Tigers yesterday. They don't spend as much money as the Mariners do, and that lineup looked pretty good. I watched the A's lineup a couple weeks or earlier in the week, and they spent almost no money, and their lineup looked better. Yeah. So it's not just the amount of money that's being spent. A lot of it has to do with the choices made by the people who are, buying the groceries, not making the right choices.
I think that there is certainly something to that, but I also think that it's context dependent. I got a call from a longtime evaluator who I respect deeply a day before the Mariners-Tigers series started. And he said, I have no idea how the Tigers are going to score runs. So, yes, you saw them just blasting Emerson Hancock last night. That might be more on Emerson Hancock than it is indicative that the Tigers have a good lineup. The A's, yes, their offense is better. They've gone out and made improvements, and a bit of that is internal. Right, bringing guys up. Tyler Soderstrom's gotten off to a great start, and he's a homegrown guy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that we're going to be having these conversations 3 years down the road, because I don't think that Colt Emerson is going to have big issues with strikeouts, and I don't think Johnny Farmelo is going to have big issues with strikeouts. And Las Montez may, but the hope is he's got 40 home runs in his bat as well, and so I think this next generation of Mariners hitters that's coming up right now is going to be a lot better in this respect. But it also, I think, is important, as you said, for the people who are running baseball operations day to day to look at this lineup right now, understand how its weaknesses are impeding the success of the present team, and bake that into future evaluations so that you don't run into the same problem again with the players who you are developing and who you do hope are going to be part of a homegrown core going forward.
Jeffrey, you got your computer pulled up in front of you?
Always.
Okay. Can you pull up Julio Rodriguez? And as you do, I am kind of curious because every day here in April, we do a draft preview and we play sound of the general manager of the Seahawks who says, I need a guy that can elevate everybody around him and just kind of lights up the room and just a difference maker. Julio is that kind of guy. Julio has struck out 7 times in 21 at bats this year. He's got 3 walks, 7 Ks.
21 plate appearances, yeah.
Yep. So he's right there above 30%. Can Julio Rodriguez be a star in this league? Can he get his jersey sold once again, which are not happening right now, if he strikes out 30-something% of the time?
It's really hard when you're at the 30% level to be a star. You have to be elite defensively. You have to slug the ball well, and you have to get on base. It's possible. It takes some batted ball luck, Because think about it this way with strikeouts. If you're striking out 30% of the time, that is just like out of every 10 at-bats that you have, that means 3 of them you're doing absolutely nothing productive. And so you now have 7 more plate appearances to go out there and do something. Strikeouts limit your ability to impact the game. So yeah, because of Julio's glove and his legs and his power, he's got enough tools to still be a star, even if he does strike out at a high rate. But I don't know, man. I just look at the top of the leaderboards when it comes to wins above replacement, and I look at the strikeout rates among those guys, and it tells a story. Who was the best player in baseball last year? Aaron Judge, 24%. Bobby Witt Jr., 15%. Shohei Ohtani, 22%. Juan Soto, 17%. Gunnar Henderson, 22%. Francisco Lindor, 18%. Jarren Duran, 22%. Jose Ramirez, 12%. Best case scenario is that Julio Rodriguez is Ellie De La Cruz, who was a 6-win player last year with a 31% strikeout rate. The only other guys in the top 20, now we're going down to like top 30 of wins above replacement right now. Wow. On Fangraphs with more than a 25% strikeout rate. Brent Rooker at 28.8 and Cal Raleigh at 28.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
We're going to get to Cal in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can be a very effective player if you strike out a lot. It just cuts down your margin for error significantly.
Yeah, I think what one thing I would say about the strikeouts is the types of strikeouts and the reason for the strikeouts, I think, may be important. Mm-hmm. Are you striking out because you're being incredibly patient and you're forcing the pitcher to throw a lot of pitches, so then generally both your walks and your strikeouts are going to be high? I think that's always been the trade-off I've been willing to accept of like, hey, that's sort of where the whole 3 true outcome thing comes from. But when you're striking out because you just keep swinging, that's a very different kind of strikeout. And I think that's the one that's been driving us crazy with Julio, is he's not being patient. The strikeouts are coming from swinging and missing, not because he's trying to wait for the best pitch.
Yeah, and the Mariners actually are a pretty darn patient team. I think they're 3rd in walk rate in MLB right now. So there is some balance to that. But you're right. Pitch recognition and swing decisions are so crucial to strikeouts. And, if that has been the emphasis of Edgar Martinez and that's the emphasis of Dan Wilson, and they just keep pounding it into guys' heads, they need to do a better job at that.
So you mentioned Cal.
It's not enough.
You mentioned Cal. Let's talk about him for a moment because he signed his big extension last week. You broke the news. Nice job by you, of course. And we spent a lot of time talking about it. A big question: why do you think this got done? Why did Cal sign? But also, let me steer you a little bit because of, you and I have talked about impending labor issues, et cetera, the chance for a lockout or maybe even a cap coming up. Could we see more guys signing deals like this now because they know there's a chance that when they actually come up for free agency, things will look very different?
I think this was position dependent because if you go and look historically at the free agent contracts signed by, I got a beep here from someone who I probably should pick up, but I'm not going to do that because I like you guys.
Are you sure? Why don't you can answer live? We'll just turn your mic down. Maybe not.
No, that's not. I don't think that's how it works.
No,
like when you beep over, you guys can't still hear me. Can you?
Well, you can do a 3-way call if you need to. I mean,
Yeah, I don't want to put this person in that position now.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Rob Manfred. We take precedence. What can we tell you?
Sorry, Jerry. Justin. Sorry.
Yes, it's a big name. I think that when you look at what catchers have done in free agency, take JT Realmuto, for example. He, 5 years, I think $115 million. And he struggled to get that. Like, he was a free agent for a long time. Will Smith, 10 years, $140 million. That was a contract extension. I think that and Cal Raleigh's deal, which pays him significantly more average annual value at 6 years, $105 million, like they know that catchers are not as appreciated as they probably should be on the free agent market because there's fear about them aging. And so get your bag now. And I don't think Cal Raleigh gave up a whole lot in terms of value to get the deal that he got. Could he have made 20, 25 million more? Potentially, sure. But to lock in a 9-figure contract when your lifetime batting average is like 220 something, it's pretty great. And I think it's I'm not saying that this deal sways enormously in Cal Raleigh's favor. I think the Mariners had to do this. He's such an integral part of this team. And when you have a catcher who has the respect of the pitching staff that he does, who has the ability behind the plate, whether it's with his arm or with his glove, and framing pitches to impact the game on the defensive side, you want to send the message to people on the team and to people who are prospectively coming via free agency to Seattle that we have a rock-solid core here. We have Julio Rodriguez, who's one of the best center fielders in baseball. We have Cal Raleigh, who's one of the best catchers in baseball. That right there is a really good place to start and two really good guys to build around.
Jeffrey, professional question with a little bit of personal to this one, just kind of globally, before I get to Torpedo bats as well, but just kind of globally. Was it a week ago, Salk? We talked about the Minnesota Twins trying to sell. Can they not get $1.7 billion?
$1.7 billion with $425 million worth of debt.
That was after the Celtics sold for $6.2 billion and everything else. So that's one. I looked yesterday, the A's, the Sacramento A's, have a Costco shed that they have built outside of the ballpark for their media. Really, really nice Costco shed. I look at what ESPN, has said to the league as well with some of the baseball rights and the package and everything else. Just kind of globally, big picture, and the looming, labor dispute maybe in a couple years. You have a concern. Where's your concern meter for the game that we all love?
Yeah, it's really funny because I went on foul territory, I think it was last week, and was talking about how I think the game is in a good place, and people pushed back on that idea. And I wasn't specific enough. When I say the game's in a good place, I think the on-field product is really good. Mm-hmm. I think they're, in terms of like marketable stars, it's at the best place it's been in a long time. And Shohei Ohtani's at the forefront, but it goes beyond that. Like there are a lot of guys who are sort of penetrating the zeitgeist right now in baseball, and that is credit to the sport. Like the on-field product is really good, but there are questions of the sport's long-term viability with the Dodgers being as much of a machine as they are. And if Major League Baseball can try and go like la 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 la, but it's not going to drown out the sound of fans who are aggrieved at where the disparity in the game is right now financially. And that leads to discussions of the salary cap, which lead to discussions of a long lockout, which would be bad for everybody involved. So I think the two issues that are paramount, let's go three at this moment. Number one, labor peace. If baseball doesn't have labor peace, it is the most self-inflicted wound imaginable. Number two, television rights. And this ties into number three, which is financial disparity. Like, you need to listen to your fans. And even though I think a lot of them can be ignorant in terms of what the actual effect some of these financial disparities have on the game. Like, for example, a lot of fans make a big deal of deferred money. Deferred money is not a big deal. I get why people are mad about it, but that also means they don't understand it. Like, you still have to pay a large chunk of what guys are owed and put it in a bank account presently. It actually, you can do it 2 years after. But the point is, funding deferred money, you still got to fund it. You still got to put money away. So it's not like these teams are just passing the bill off to the future. It's not like the Dodgers are saying that, we're just going to throw everything 10 years down the road and that'll be someone else's problem. No, that's not how it works.
Well,
it's a tool that especially California-based teams can use because of the tax implications. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
Well, I'm just curious.
Anti-deferral guy?
No, I'm not. I don't care about it one way or another. Honestly, I think you're right. But all of this to me, and I'm probably, there's a little confirmation bias in this for me. Not a huge surprise, but all of it to me comes back to the fact that I think there is going to have to be a salary cap. So if I'm deferring money, what does that mean for salary cap stuff down the road? Or I just think the Dodgers are setting themselves up for not just now, but the future.
I completely disagree with your premise, but I'm curious here. Why do you think there has to be a salary cap?
I think that everything you just said is leading to it. When I hear when we go through the price of teams versus the valuation on other teams and other sports, when we talk about the amount of money that's coming off of the income ledger with the death of the RSNs, when we talk about, as you just said, the fans and their anger about the disparity across the league, I think, and we know the owners have wanted this forever.
And every other league has it.
Every other league has it. The NFL and all the other leagues are, I mean, it just feels almost inevitable to me. And I know the players are going to battle like hell to keep it out of the game, but I just don't see how they avoid it. At some point, this is the only way. If I were Major League Baseball teams, I would be releasing my financials. Like, okay, here it is. I understand why the NFL doesn't do that because they don't want people to know how much money they're making. But if I was a baseball, the baseball money is all being made in terms of growth of the value. It's not being made in the day-to-day, as you know. So, release it. Here you go. We're not making enough money.
Mike, I think it depends on the franchise.
Fair point. Yes, you're right. But if you're the Minnesota Twins, release the financials. Show them whether or not you're making any money, and people might be surprised. And I wonder if that could sway even more public opinion to having a salary cap, which I think they are going to eventually have.
Mike, do you remember? It's funny you bring up the Twins specifically because back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the Twins did release their financials. They said, well, not the full books or anything, but they talked about how they were losing money, and it was not true.
Was that when they were going to contract the Twins because of the pullouts?
Exactly. They were saying we do not have a viable business model going forward, and here they are 25 years later with a beautiful new stadium and a franchise that's worth 10 times what it was back then.
Right.
So and I think that is an important point to know because the playbook hasn't changed. They're still going to cry poor. They always cry poor. It's what owners do. The question that fans need to ask themselves when they're pushing for a salary cap, and in that, I don't know if you're pushing for it or suggesting that it's just an inevitability. Regardless, I think the question that needs to be asked is very simple. Does a salary cap solve the problems that Major League Baseball currently has? I don't know that it does. I don't know that a salary cap leads to the sort of parity necessarily that people have been led to believe that it's going to. I think all you have to do is look at the number of Super Bowl champions over the last, since the turn of the century. Not a lot of teams. Not a ton of parity in terms of championships, and if that's the end goal in Major League Baseball, we haven't seen a repeat champion since the 1998 to 2000 Yankees.
Well, this is a much bigger conversation for another day. Jeff, give us 30 seconds on these bats.
Torpedo bats, going to change the game. Going to change the game.
I hope it changes the game.
Are you going to be writing another book called The Bat?
No, I will not be writing another book called The Bat, though it is a really fascinating story, and I'm shocked that it has taken this long for this technology to come into play, because it is really a very simple and logical thing. Where you hit the ball more, you want the most mass, right?
Yep.
And so that's what Aaron Leonard did with the Yankees, and I feel like we're going to be talking a lot about this because there are going to be a lot of players. I had one person tell me already this is the biggest headache that we've had in 10 years because every player now thinks a torpedo bat is going to make him into an all-star.
Not here, Jeff. You don't need them here. The Mariners going to be just fine.
Torpedoes get shot down in the marine layer here. They don't make it out. They don't even make it out.
We got actual nuclear subs going up and down the Puget Sound here, straight through the Straits of Juan de Fuca. So we don't need torpedo bats. We're just fine.
The what of what?
Thank you,
You don't know
Jeffrey.
about the Straits of Juan de Fuca? Jeff, go do a little research.
Juan
Come
de
on.
Fuca. Thank you.
Go learn your geography.
It is rare that I get out nerded, but Mike Salk, I give you a gold star.
Hey, Jeff, seriously.
Go return that call.
Seriously, really happy to have you back for the year. Every Tuesday, 8:30 with Jeff Passan all throughout the baseball season. We really appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Can't wait.